For wrestling diehards only, this is the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. Welcome in, everybody, all the diehards here in the beautiful state of Idaho. Welcome into another edition of the IdahoSports.com Mat Chat Prepcast, presented by our good friends at Green Solution, East Idaho's trusted name in water, mold, and fire damage, locally owned, delivering fast, reliable flood recovery. I want to welcome our viewers on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram tonight. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to make Brandon happy because he loves it when you do that. This show is for you, the fans, so let us know what you're thinking, where you're at. Let us know where you're watching from. If you have questions about high school wrestling in Idaho, put them in the comments, and we'll do our best to get them up on the screen and talk about them. Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Kingsbury. I'm filling in for Brandon Bainey tonight. He's off this week for Christmas. Don't worry, he'll be back on the 7th. He said he didn't want to do it tonight because the Packers were playing, and they're beating the Saints right now at halftime, I think, or third quarter, 21-0 or something. So he made the right call. Well, guys, let's welcome in the real reason you guys are watching tonight. The two smartest guys in Idaho high school wrestling. First up, Mr. Al Fontes. Al, thanks for being here tonight, man.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Next guy who's not feeling the Christmas spirit quite as much as we are, but he does have the best mustache in the business, Mr. Brian Zollinger. Brian, how are you?
Good. What's going on, diehards? I'm definitely underdressed, but I got to say, at least my nipple's not showing. I mean,
just one. Is that it? Okay,
yeah.
There's two. Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
It's like I told you guys, I found this site online where I can I send a picture of myself in, and then they put it on a sweater. So that way I don't get cold and I can still show off my abs.
Look at Paul hitting the gym there.
Yeah. I don't know what a gym is these days, guys. No. Oh, well, guys, Brandon demanded almost that I keep to the general format because, he knows what happens when I go off script during shows. It's happened. So we're going to start off with what you guys always do, which is what was the best thing you saw last week? Brian, let's start off with you. What was the best thing you saw last week?
Yeah, and this is going to be fun. This is for a lot of people out there, this is going to be breaking news. You heard it here at IdahoSports.com. I'm pretty sure I'm authorized because it was public. I was at a tournament, the Rivalry Rumble Girls Tournament. And we had at the beginning of the tournament an announcement made by one of the referees, the president of the Idaho Hall of Fame chapter, Mr. Scott, and he announced, so I'm going to take the liberty to say, at that, they announced that Idaho State has officially committed to having girls wrestling in the 2026 season as a Division I sport.
Awesome.
And so that was great to see the girls come. They brought all the girls that were wrestling down on the mat, took a group photo to send to the athletic director to show the support that women's wrestling had in the state of Idaho. So that was by far the coolest thing I saw this week. It's, girls out in Idaho, girl wrestling families, they should be excited that we are going to have a college girls program in the state of Idaho coming up soon.
That's great. Are they going to be Division I?
Division I, that's what they said. It's going to be Division I, which I think coincides with female college wrestling becoming a Division I sport. I think that's the first year, actually, that it's going to be. And so that coincides perfectly, and that's the plan. And he announced that we need all the support we can get, financial backing to get that program built up. So if you're out there and businesses, individuals that can sponsor that in the state of Idaho, get in touch. I can put you in touch with whoever we need to. But basically, Idaho State, I think you can contact them directly, and we can figure out how to get this going and get it built up.
It's great.
Let's talk about this more when Val comes on during the girls section. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. That's great. That's great. Coach, what do you got?
Me, I did not attend any tournaments this week and I had some family stuff, but I did throughout the weekend track the Reno Tournament Champion. Overall, we can talk more about it later, but I just want to say, Eagle High School placing in the top 10 was pretty good. Like we said last week in the podcast, we're going to have to watch them. They're still in that potential to be in the top in the state this year. But we had two champions. We had Elise Twait and the Ella Ilardi Eagle. I watched them wrestle. They wrestled tough, and that was probably the best thing I saw.
Well, I saw nothing.
They wrestled tough.
That's awesome. Well, guys, before we get into talking about the action that happened. We want to thank our sponsor, of course, Green Solutions. Guys, Green Solutions and Cleaning and Restoration. They're two brothers born in Rexburg. Brian, I think you actually know them pretty well. They've been blessed to find a way to work with one another. Their dad put them both in wrestling, like 5 years old. They had a lot of success in high school and college. And through wrestling, they learned that having success doesn't just take hard work, but putting in more time than your opponent. You have to put in the time and energy to make you great at what you do. And that's what Green Solutions Cleaning and Restoration is. They are the premium carpet cleaning company in Eastern Idaho. Their main focus over the last 3 years has been in water damage and emergencies and disasters. Nobody wants to wake up to a foot of water in their basement. They've mastered how to de-escalate the situation and help the customer through the difficult time. Green Solutions Cleaning and Restoration loves Eastern Idaho. Eastern Idaho loves them, and they're grateful to all of their loyal customers. So thank you to our sponsor here on the Mat Chat Prepcast, Green Solutions.
Yeah, two great brothers, and it's, you see them at wrestling tournaments every weekend, so definitely, wrestlers, if you're out there, go support Green Solutions if you ever need anything like that, because you couldn't go wrong. I know their work ethic from watching them through high school sports, and some great dudes.
Yeah, it's one of those companies you hope you never need them. When you do, you want it done right, right? Yeah. And they're the guys. So we'll talk about a little bit more of them as we go. But guys, let's talk about some of the action that took place over the last week. A ton of tournaments happened over the weekend. A ton. John Shoy in Melba, High Country Duels, Bonneville Duels. George Wild up in Kellogg. Continental Divide. You guys talked about that one last week. We can talk about it. Reno, Tournament of Champions. Wiley Dobbs, Best of the West, to name a few. But before we get into them, let's talk about that Best of the West, because Caldwell, Middleton were there. The Vikings placed third in the dual tournament on Friday, second in the individual tournament, and a picture that Ryan Mayer sent us of the team after the tournament. There they are. So if we get sent pictures, wrestling pictures, team pictures, with a story behind it, we're going to put it up here on the Prepcast. So here is that Middleton team holding all of the plaques and awards they got up there at the Best of the West tournament. I think the Middleton girls were actually there as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that with Val, but that's cool. Thanks for sending in that picture. And Ryan, really appreciate that. That's cool.
Yeah, love it. And, that's a great result. In the individual tournament, like you said, Middleton second, Caldwell third. There were 3 or 4 matches there that we had Caldwell Minico against each other in the finals, which is, in a tournament like that, that's cool. pretty impressive. Yeah,
that's way cool. Coach, out of that long list I just talked about, I know last week you guys talked about John Shoy, the Ron John Shoy tournament in Melba as well. I don't know if you had many notes on that. High Country, like I said, the Continental Divide, which was a pretty cool one up there in Salmon as well. So, Coach, you can start things off talking about some of the action that you saw over the last weekend.
Yeah, I wasn't physically there, but on Flow, I was able to track a lot of the matches at the Reno Tournament of Champions. The teams from Idaho were Fruitland, who was 15th. So they were 15th out of close to 100 high schools. They were within 25, 26 points of being in the top 10. They had a 2 placers. Meridian was there, Mountain View, Nampa, Eagle, New Plymouth, and Idaho Falls. But of the placers, we had Ryan Hershert, Nampa. He placed 5th in the tournament. Saxton Scott at 126 took 6th. Finalist Caden McKenzie from Fruitland. He looked solid throughout the tournament. Logan Shaver, Meridian, he was 8th. 165 was a very tough weight. Chaz Ponton from Mountain View lost his first match, came back, won several, and he placed 8th. Jean-Luc Guerrera, another Mountain View kid, took 6th. Gabriel Cox, he made the quarterfinals, lost, but then he came back and ended up placing 7th. Fellow Quinn Hood from Fruitland took 7th as well. So overall, that was pretty good. Then in the girls division, like I said, Eagle took 10th. They had 1 champion and 3 placers. Idaho represented fairly well there. They had Ava Boy from Centennial took 7th. Kara Herschel from Rocky Mountain was 5th. Tommy Stone, Eagle, was 8th. Elise Twait, who's a returning state champion, was a champion there. Ella Elordi, as we were talking about earlier, she didn't wrestle last year, but she was a state qualifier a few years. She's looking pretty solid. She was a champion, and she faced Rocky Mountain's Gavin Brown. And then Emery Wood, who's a 2-time placer from Eagle, took 4th. So overall, that was a pretty good showing there. It's a fairly competitive tournament, probably one of the better tournaments on the West Coast. So that's basically what I saw. I was impressed with the kids that placed.
So where is the Tournament of Champions played at or wrestled at? What facility is that?
Okay, so it's Reno Convention Center. It's right across the street from the Silver Legacy, and you got that big bowling alley right there, downtown Reno. It's right there. So,
all right, I told you I'm going down to Reno this weekend, and I wish I could have been there last weekend. That would have been a lot of fun to be at.
Yeah, and they also had the college division where we had 5 kids from Idaho. Mac Mager was in the finals. Talanek, who's wrestling for Utah Valley, was 5th. Tanner Frothinger, another Eagle High School at UVU, he was 5th as well. Then Brian, you remember him, Kakana Foray from Columbia?
At Oregon State now.
Yeah, he took 4th. And then Charlie Hastritter, another kid from Capital, is at Oregon State, took 5th as well. So they have a college division on Sunday. So represented Idaho really well.
Yeah, it was, super impressive overall to have 8 placers in the boys and 7 in the girls division, and to see Eagle top 10 girls, and I don't know that a lot of the teams didn't take their full teams. I know Idaho Falls just took 3 or 4 kids. So I thought overall pretty well represented. And like you said, the college, along with those that placed, we had another half dozen Idaho wrestlers at the college division. So, I mean, there was never a dull moment of the Tournament of Champions this weekend.
No, I agree with you.
Just a couple of comments coming real quick. Go Post Falls from Lynn on Facebook. Jacqueline says, "Let's go Trojans." And Sean Kane, "What is Paul's background?" Okay, I'm about to pass out because I painted this wall today and it's not totally dry. So I'm loving life right now. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. It's better than a paper bag. I'm in an enclosed office right now. So my old office that I had for years, I had the blue background, and I had schools send me hats all the time. And so I always hang up those hats. Well, I got step 1 done today, and that's paint the office. So yeah, next time there'll be other stuff.
It's going to look good. I thought maybe you were going with the clear background and you could have some kind of motion, going on in the back, some rolling hills or video
play. Not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea, though. Maybe I'll just skip everything else and just have the it's not scratch and sniff. It's just sniff. It's just sniff. And I am old enough to remember the scratch and sniff stickers. If I did a good job, they never had the gasoline one. I don't know why. It's kind of. But okay, guys, we talked about one tournament. Let's talk about some more. Like I said, you guys last week talked about Continental Divide up in Salmon, how cool that is. From what I saw, it looks like Sugar won that one by a lot. Chalice, Teton, Salmon, West J, Butte coming in that order. But that had to have been a fun tournament up there. I mean, it's a long way to go, but once you get there, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I talked to the Salmon coaches the week before, and they were excited to be hosting a tournament up there again. And, you nailed it. Sugar looks like they pretty much dominated Sugar Teton, but to have Arco out there, I mean, you don't see a lot of wrestling in Arco, so that the fact that they represented, showed up, that was kind of fun. So would have been a fun tournament to go up to, but we had tons of others. Obviously, a lot of the schools over in Eastern Idaho were at the Bonneville duels, or what do they call it? The high country. Yeah. In American Falls, 3A school pretty much dominated that, or 4A, I guess now, right?
4, yeah.
So, American Falls finished first, Madison, then Century, South Fremont, Ryrie, Bonneville, and a lot of good matches. The rankings this week between Wiley Dobbs and Bonneville duels and some of the head-to-head matches that we got to see this weekend, it's going to shake the rankings up in just about every division, as well as you had some of the Malad tournament. Those matches are going to shake up the individual rankings. But to see American Falls pretty much dominate that, I was interested to see the Madison American Falls duel, because Madison's definitely an up-and-coming 6A program that should compete top 3-4 in the state. American Falls is going to be right there, 4A. Obviously, Fruitland was down at Tournament of Champions. That's going to be fun to see how, Fruitland, American Falls match up. And at Wiley Dobbs, you had Buell. So I thought that was, probably the best duel there. American Falls, Madison in that final pod was fun to see, and American Falls comes out on top.
Was it 42-38?
I think I'd have to look at the score, but it was about that. It came down to, the last couple matches for sure.
So I got a question for you. I'm still learning Idaho. I've been here a few years. Arco, is that in the Butte County area?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the school is actually called Butte County.
Yeah.
It's in Arco, Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
First-
Pickles Cafe, just 2 stops town, right? Not a lot there, but
It is. It absolutely is. Yeah. Good times. I love Butte County.
Yeah.
The whole school there, I mean, they're very supportive of what we do. So that's always pretty cool as well. So yeah, a lot of good people up there in Arco. And then just north of that, Mackey, go around the bend, Chalice, get up to Salmon. So, and then you get into a lot of beautiful nothing where Bigfoot lives.
Yeah.
Frank Church up there. It's awesome.
And
Beautiful.
some good wrestling. There's always good wrestling. Chalice, Salmon. Mackey's had some great ones. There was a club that used to travel around quite a bit when I was younger from Mackey that they would travel everywhere. They had to travel everywhere to get matches. So great wrestling through that whole swath.
So did you track the Wiley Dobbs Invitational up in Twin Falls this week, Brian?
I didn't go there. I was at the High Country Duels, but I looked at it. Highland ended up winning that one.
Yeah.
Jerome, Elko, Nevada was in third place.
Mm-hmm.
Timberline really surprised me coming in fourth at the Wiley Dobbs. I mean, I was looking through the results in their roster and was pleasantly surprised that they competed. Kuna was fifth, and which surprised me that Timberline beat Kuna. I don't know. I haven't looked through it enough to see if they had a full lineup or what they were missing there. I think they maybe had some kids down at other tournaments as well. But, super impressive. And some of the individual matches that we had there, think off the top of my head, 126. You had some, upsets. Rankings are early and they're going to change. But the Keller kid from Preston beat Vega from Burley. Or Minico. That's going to shake things up there. So there were some really good individual matches, either in the semis or the finals of Wiley Dobbs. And on the girls' side, Kuna did win that, which isn't surprising. I think Kuna, Eagle both look really tough, but Kuna won that. Twin Falls, Valley View, Jerome. And again, same thing. There were some really good individual matches that are going to shake the individual rankings up. So people should be looking for those to come out just to see what happened. It's interesting to track, and obviously it's early and hard work put you to the top of those, and they really don't mean anything, but it's fun to see what's coming up.
And we are going to be putting out rankings this week.
Sorry about that, Paul.
I said we are going to be putting out updated rankings this week. They're going to come out Christmas Day. So open your presents and then open up the new rankings, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Sawyer Anderson looked tough at 120s as well. Then Coy Orr from Filer, he looked good. Sean Hall, we talked about him last week, up at 138s. I really think he's going to shake it up now they moved up to the 6A. He's a tough kid, very high competitor. So pretty good tournament. Ryder Sheen looked good at 190s, winning it. Gabe Finley, Buell had a few good kids as well. So yeah.
That Sean Hall and too much cold medicine this afternoon. I just went blank on the Seguin.
You got cold medicine. I've got paint. You and I are in the same boat.
Between the two of us, we got this covered. But no, that
We're
Sean
happy.
Hall Ryder Seguin matchup is one everybody should be looking forward to. I don't know when it happens first. I haven't looked at Rollie Lane to see if Canyon Ridge is at Rollie Lane. Maybe we see that matchup there, but that's going to be fire. That's one of the big ones to circle on your calendar because Sean Hall looks unbeatable, and so does Seguin.
Yeah, I looked at the list, and I don't see Canyon Ridge on the Idaho list yet.
Yeah,
doesn't mean they won't be there, but
and Rollie Lane, we will be talking about it. So if you tuned in to hear about Rollie Lane, what's coming up, it's last. It's kind of like grocery stores put the eggs and milk in the back of the store. We're putting Rollie Lane at the back of the broadcast tonight. Make you all stick around. Now, we've got one from Chuck. Blackfoot had 5 undefeated wrestlers at the High Country Duels, and it was cool to see them. Let's go Broncos. So cool.
Yeah, Blackfoot really good. Yeah, they looked awesome there too. Braden Cousins looked. He was one of those in the undefeated wrestlers, and we had another one of those ranking shake-up matches there. Him and Clark Peterson from Shelley went 7-5. Probably one of the best matches of the tournament there. So that was fun to see. Blackfoot represented really well.
Yeah, Blackfoot has that storied history of great wrestlers. They always have.
Yeah, they do for sure. Very
long time. Well, guys, anything else you want to talk about with tournaments that happened?
Well, Wally Dobbs also had a girls tournament where women's girls wrestling is growing. It seems like a lot of tournaments are adopting a women's girls division as well. So Wiley Dobbs, there was a lot of good wrestlers. Kuna won it. Twin Falls was second. But some of the top girls in the state, like Ali Sponsara Buell, won it. Michaela Smith, who's a returning state placer from Mountain View, won it at 120s. Olivia Betchek from Jerome won it. Zoe Fries from Kuna won it. Roxy Sheen, another top-level underclassman, won it as well. And Rihanna Walter from Canyon Ridge. Wasn't she a state champion last year, or top three, wasn't she? I can't remember. Yeah. So,
I can see Valerie in the green room crumpling up all of her notes as you're going over all the girls' wrestling.
Still,
I'll let her speak. I forgot. I stand correct. I'll let her speak more on that. But yeah.
All right. Well, every good host likes a good segue. So Travis says, "Let's go Sandpoint," and let's go Valerie. Doesn't have her name up there. Man, it's Val Johansson. There it is. Val Johansson.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Hey Val.
Val, even you're festive. Okay. I don't know if you saw the opener, but we were making fun of Brian because he's kind of a Grinch. He's just not into it.
I'll wear the green next time. It's straight up Grinch over here.
It's okay. You're not a Grinch. We know better.
All right. Well, Val, thanks for joining us, taking time out of your Christmas Eve to be here. You had a busy weekend. Your girls were at George Wild and Kellogg, correct?
Yeah, so we were at George Wild for 2 days. This was the first time in 20 years of George Wild that the girls were able to wrestle on Friday night. So we had over 100 girls at George Wild this weekend, and it was extremely exciting to be able to wrestle Friday night. And for years, we have just sat there and watched great boys wrestling on Friday, but to be part of the action Friday night was pretty special.
Well, and your team, they went in and you guys didn't take any prisoners. You know, you weren't like being nice to anybody. You won that thing with 150 points, right? Post Falls, a pretty distant second with 93.
Yes, but Post Falls they were closing the gap, and they've been closing the gap on us every week. So we welcome that challenge, but we were taking no prisoners on Saturday, and our girls wrestled tough, and it was good to see.
Mackenzie, I get that you have to be nice and political, but we both know you kick the crap out of everybody. Yeah. Well, that's good.
There was some great wrestling, George Wild, this weekend. Jolie dropped down to 114, which is probably the most exciting weight class up here in the north. Now that Jolie's in it, we have Jolie, Nevaeh Theron, Hunter Edmondson, Izzy Rice, Summer Birch, and it just keeps going. So that weight class at 114 is explosive. It's fun to coach, but I bet it's just amazing to watch as a spectator.
So besides your team, Post Falls, I'm sure there were some great performances by some other girl wrestlers there. What were a couple that really stood out to you?
The biggest one that stood out was the Sophia Brown and Callie Brown finals match at 138. So that went all 3 rounds. And Sophia Brown dominated, I will say. Sophia Brown's from Bonners Ferry. Sorry about that. Callie Brown is from Post Falls. Sophia Brown held in control for all 3 rounds and came out the victor of that one. And that was probably the gym stopper of the day up in George Wild. Yeah.
Well, Brian opened things up by announcing some pretty cool news about ISU. Should let you talk about it, but Val, go ahead and you and Brian can basically go back and forth and talk about how cool is it. I mean, how cool is it that D1 in Idaho, they're getting girls wrestling?
That was news to me, so I am just in shock and speechless and excited, and I cannot wait for the fact that Idaho girls have the opportunity to stay home and to represent their state in Idaho, and how exciting that's going to be. And I hope that ISU accepts that challenge and looks at home and recruits here in Idaho, because we have strong girls that can represent on a national level very well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if you look at the freshmen and sophomores coming up, when's the program stated to begin?
2026 season. And I hope I'm assuming, since RJ Scott made it public, that I was okay to release that announcement, because I'm assuming they will announce that it's more events, probably Rollie Lane girls tournament and a few others. They will just continue to press that and make it more widely known. But it's super exciting
because you're going to have 4 or 5 nationally ranked girls coming out of that state that year.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah. So it could be a good start.
Yep.
Oh, it's going to be exciting. And there's a benefit to recruiting local. And for wrestlers to stay home and parents to be able to be here, it just really will grow that program very quickly.
Yep.
And parents will be willing to invest in that program.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fred Bartlett chimes in, 7 ranked women at the NAIA level right now. So, who knows where those 7 ladies would be if there was, higher than NAIA.
So that's probably the largest division right now for women's wrestling. Division 1 only has about 4 or 5 teams right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. As soon as that's sanctioned, fully in 2026, ISU's, it's awesome that they're going to jump in right there. And if they can recruit at home, I don't know, a lot of our wrestling fans watching probably went down to the Utah Valley duel, the first one they had. And I would say that, they packed that gym and half of it was Idaho people down there because you've got 4 Idaho wrestlers wrestling there at Utah Valley. And if ISU can do the same, that's going to be huge for the state of Idaho, huge for women's wrestling in the state. Because I could see us, just filling a gym at ISU to watch girls wrestling if they can recruit locally. And so it's going to be fun to see.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
With some of those NAIA schools, D1 schools in Idaho with other sports like football, especially in basketball, it was really frustrating over the last 25 years, seeing all these great Idaho kids not getting picked up and seeing, like a CSI in the old days, they're bringing kids from internationally. And meanwhile, College of Idaho is doing a great job of recruiting Idaho kids. CSI is doing a great job now. Even BSU, U of I, ISU, the colleges are really looking inwards now instead of assuming that all the great talent is outside the state. They're realizing there's a lot inside the state, and I think everyone's going to see that not only with the men's wrestling but the women's wrestling as well. I mean, the stars are going to shine, the cream is going to rise, however we want to say it, and sometimes it just takes that first one to take the lead before the others say, oh, they're doing it, okay, let's do it as well. And hopefully that's the case. Those other colleges will follow suit.
Yep. I hope you're right. And, North Idaho, Coach Booth is doing a fabulous job of recruiting Idaho. It's fun to see Voss, true freshmen, come in and tear it up there. And so, I think Coach Booth has figured out that formula to get Idaho wrestling fans watching Idaho wrestling again.
Yeah. Was he top 5 right now?
Yeah, he's having I haven't looked at the updated, but top 5 for sure. So he's setting it up.
He was on last week and commenting. Maybe he's watching now and he can tell us. And speaking of the comments, guys, we have a lot of people online right now. We've got 4 likes. Okay. Not that likes mean a whole lot, but come on. Yeah. If you're watching right now anywhere, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, hit the like button. It takes 2 seconds. Oh, somebody just did. All right. Thanks. Appreciate that. We did get a comment about the boys. Got to get this in before I forget. Post Falls not sending their ones to Raleigh. The ones are going to the Clash in Minnesota.
Oh, wow. That's a tough tournament.
So you have to see Minnesota.
It will. We'll miss out on a lot of good matches. It would be fun to watch, but it's also going to be fun to see how Post Falls, because they're going to compete back there. And, nice to see that how we compare to those other states that are going to be at the Clash for sure.
Isn't that a dual meet tournament, right? The Clash?
I don't know for sure.
I believe it's a dual meet competition where it's pretty competitive.
Somebody online can tell us if it's a dual meet tournament for sure.
Yeah. I should know that.
Fred says, just hosted the biggest girls middle school state in history. Future of girls in Idaho is strong. Fred, you're right. Absolutely right.
Hey, Fred, I'm getting to those notes, Fred. I'm getting there.
we were talking about that last week, about that coming up, and it'd be a good indicator of what's coming up high school wise, girls. And I looked through those brackets, and we've got some hammers coming through the girls middle school divisions for sure. And to see those brackets, 32 person brackets plus, there could have even been some 64 person brackets in that tournament. So that was super impressive to see, and the future is bright for women's wrestling in Idaho.
Well, guys, ask and you shall receive.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Floyd Voss, number 5, 2 open tournament wins, 1 runner-up finish. Coach Booth doing a hell of a job up there. Thanks for supporting us. tuning in and helping us out. Appreciate that. So yeah, there's good stuff.
He's killing it up there. I wish North Idaho College was closer for us East Idaho fans to go catch some duels and stuff, but hopefully the North Idaho wrestlers are supporting North Idaho College because they're tearing it up for sure.
I used to go up to Tri-State every year and we broadcast that back in the early days. And it's a small gym, small facility. And so it stunk to high heaven and it was wonderful. It was just that great wrestling feel, and it was awesome. I loved it. The windows are all steamed up, and I get to go up there every year for the basketball all-star games up there at North Idaho College, but I miss going up there for Tri-State as well. It was always a good time.
Well, you can bring your teams up to the North Idaho Rumble or to River City Duels and then go ahead and catch a NIC duel while you're up here, guys. There's plenty of opportunities to wrestle your high school teams up north.
Yeah.
Well, Derek says it's coming down for a duel in Boise January 2nd, so he'll see you guys at Raleigh.
Yep.
I think they wrestle Umpqua, right? Of Oregon.
Umpqua Community. Yeah. We were going to announce that. So that's a good thing. I think it's 7:30 that night. You can buy your tickets online. The links to buy the tickets are several places. I know USA Idaho Wrestling's Facebook page has the ad. I think the Idaho Wrestling Community page, I think Idaho Wrestling News has a link up. If not, we'll make sure it gets up there, where you can buy the tickets. Meridian is wrestling Wasatch at 6:00, and then at 7:30 it's North Idaho College versus Umpqua Community. And I don't know those that went to that last year. That was a blast. I mean, last year was Meridian, South Fremont, came down to the last match. I think that was last year. Hopefully I'm not thinking 2 years ago. But with North Idaho College wrestling in that second thing and kind of being the headliner, that's going to be fun to go watch. Great opportunity. All the schools are going to be there, and the atmosphere last year at that was just amazing. So it's going to be fun to see North Idaho College tear it up.
Well, Val, I did have a question for you, and it related to the beginning where you said we were able to wrestle on Friday night. How great that was! How great is it that you and other girls coaches now have options when it comes to scheduling your season? Instead of going, well, we can't go here, here, here. Now it's, well, we can go here, or we can go here, or, how great is that? I mean, that really opens things up for you, and that has to be getting better all the time, right?
Oh, absolutely. 3 years ago, we were still struggling to fill our 16 days for the year, getting our girls to have a full schedule. And this year, we almost have too many. And now it's just balancing their schedules. And that's pretty amazing, to where our girls are getting significant matches, quality matches every single weekend. And we can just really choose where they're going. And even as much as we complain in the north that we have to travel, we really don't anymore. Like, there's enough good local tournaments that we can go to within 90 minutes. Another tournament this weekend was the Mallet in Spokane. Also had record-breaking girl numbers. Lake City went there. Alexis Johnson at 120 took third. And that
were you going to go there?
We were gonna go there, and then we ended up going to George Wild.
Okay.
And I'm glad that we did, especially that they wrestled Friday night. But the Mallet is a very strong tournament. They bring all their Washington Hammers from across the state. But we just have so many options all over Idaho right now, where girls teams can just choose to go. And that's going to continue to grow every year. And that's really exciting.
Yeah. And going back to the ISU thing, when it gets that big, it's just going to increase the opportunities. It's going to trickle down. It's just the way it works. Absolutely. Sorry, Brian, you were going to say something. I cut you off.
No, I was going to ask Val, all these opportunities. I was at the Ryrie Rumble. That was fun to see. You had, some really good wrestling there, some great finals matches with Wiley Dobbs and the George Wild. What do you think? I mean, Premier, when are we going to see these girls matchups? Right now, it's hard to handicap the team race, the individual races. I mean, the rankings are out there, but so many of these girls haven't seen each other because it seems to still kind of be regional. What do you, Rollie Lane, Jaybird, when do you think we're going to see some of these matchups? And I mean, what's the premier girls tournament in Idaho right now, would you say?
I think it's going to be Rollie Lane, Jaybird, Tiger Grizz. I think it's going to bounce back between those three. I think between those three, you'll get to see all the teams. I know that a bunch of the teams up north were coming to Rollie Lane, and the ones who aren't going to Rollie Lane are then going to go to Jaybird.
Good.
So I'm confident that we're all going to see each other before state.
Good. Right.
And I know for us, it's the first time ever we're going to Rollie Lane. And so I'm very excited about that.
That was my next question.
when my daughter was wrestling, we went to Jaybird. So it's exciting that we're going to be able to take a full team, every weight class to Rollie Lane this year.
That's awesome. Yeah. When are you coming down to Tiger Grizz?
Hopefully next year. I would like to rotate.
Yeah, that would be fun. I talked to Shane Sherrill last year about, maybe we'll come up north for, what is it, the River City duels that you have up there?
Yes, Post Falls. Yep.
Trade you, or we'll come up there if you come down to Tiger Grizz and mix it up a bit.
I would love to come to Tiger Grizz. Support, Bridget Shannon's my girl. So anytime to come to IF, I would love to.
Well, Zach chimes in. Val is spot on. We had to rely on Washington a lot for girls' events in Moscow a few years ago. Not so much now. And that's like we said, very, very good thing. Good thing. So, all right. Well, Val, Brandon always kicks you off after this. I'm gonna invite you to stay and join us for the rest of it, because of course the last segment is looking forward to the tournaments coming up, and there are some good ones. There's a lot of good ones coming up.
There were a couple other girls events, if you don't mind, I want to talk to Val about real quick.
Keep going. I got nothing to do. I'll just huff paint.
I mean, I thought I don't know if you saw Thunder Ridge was at the Christmas Clash in Utah, which I think it's 40 plus girls schools, and I think they ended up as a team in third. I had a couple champions. The Price girl at 115 won it. Taylor Brown made her comeback and placed, I think, third at 100. Shauna Anderson placed at, and I mean, if you had to handicap the race right now, Brandon put us all on the spot early on the season, and it was impossible to handicap the girls' race. I mean, what do you think? Your top 3 or 4 teams girls wise? Ryrie, obviously, Emmett won Ryrie. Skyline was second. Skyline had 8 girls, so to be second. The Bear River, Utah team, I think they were split up, but they were pretty impressive with just their JV squad there. I mean, they said they had like almost 40 girls. But handicapping it, you saw Ryrie, you saw the Christmas Class. We talked about the George Wild Dobbs. You had Kuna winning it. What would you say? I mean, who are the top 3 or 4 girls teams?
So I'm gonna stick with my original ones from the very first broadcast. I am still going strong with Eagle. I really believe that Eagle is going to be very strong. Thunder Ridge is going to remain very strong. Kuna is going to stay in there. Up north, it's going to be Sandpoint and Post Falls. Yeah. So those are my 5 right now.
I like them. It's like I said, that's the hardest division there is to handicap, because it's it's all divisions, everything, and the team sizes, and it's going to be fun to watch.
It is very hard to handicap because the regions are so different, and the team sizes are so different. And Potlatch is a smaller school. Their team's pretty solid. I think they're gonna stay in there as a sleeper.
Yeah.
So Michael says Post Falls 2s and the girls are going to Raleigh.
Yep.
Let's get these catching up. There's also the Clash is a dual tourney. And we've got another one, but we'll wait for our next segment because that's what it has to do with. So what else, Brian? I'm not going to cut you off. You just go until you're done.
No, I think we've covered most of the tournaments that happened. Ryrie, the Christmas Clash, like I said, I thought that was impressive what Thunder Ridge did. Utah's had girls wrestling. They were several years ahead of us, and so to see Thunder Ridge go in there and take third was super impressive. And we talked about Eagle at Tournament of Champions. Sandpoint wins up there. QNAT, Wiley Dobbs, it's all over the place. So that's kind of, I think we covered the girls' tournaments. I don't think we missed any of them. So,
okay.
No, Brian, Val, with the women's program imminent at Idaho State, I would love to write an article on this, but I would like to wait a little time to see. So I may be talking to in the future about this.
Yeah, and right now I would say the contact on that, Al, would be, do you know RJ Scott? Mm-hmm. It would be RJ, chair of the Hall of Fame. He's the one that made the announcement at the duel. And it sounds like he's been in direct communication with ISU and the athletic director there, Director Therios. So that's probably the best contact direct right there. But
yeah, this is something I probably would want to write for Win Magazine or one of the outside. I can do it for Idaho Sports too, but Val, I'd want to talk to you.
Thanks for including us, Al.
No, I mean, well, it'd be to say, yeah. No, I mean, I write for them periodically, so this would be a good shot to get another article out there talking about what's going on in Idaho. with that, but I would also have posted here. I would want to talk to you, Val, just to get your, maybe as a quote or something. Once I get to that point, once we know more about your opinion, where it's going with the girls and stuff like that. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, another girls comment in here. Caldwell girls are tough from Jose.
They are.
They are.
Yeah.
So, okay. Now, we good? Okay. I want to make everybody happy. That's really my job here. Make sure everybody's happy. All right. So, Val, you're going to stick around. Okay. And we're going to talk about what's coming up between now and the next Mat Chat Prepcast on January 7th. Of course, presented by Green Solutions. When faced with water damage, you need a restoration professional like Green Solutions to immediately take action and correct the problems before permanent damage occurs. Go to greensolutionsidaho.com for more information. All right, here we go. Even though this last weekend had a lot of great tournaments, there's some good ones after Christmas. The 51st Buell Invite, River City Duels up north, the Trade McPherson Memorial in Bear Lake, relatively new one, obviously, that's in Montpelier that a lot of those Eastern Idaho schools go to, the 3A, 2A schools, some of the Utah schools come up. So we can start with whatever broadcast or with whatever tournaments you want, except Rollie Lane, because we're saving it for the end. Ryan, go ahead. What are you looking forward to?
So over the holidays, I mean, before we even get to Rollie Lane weekend, the Sierra Nevada Classic, I know there's a few Idaho teams going that. So back to Reno. That's also, there'll be 70 to 100 teams in the boys division, and the girls division this year looks like there's about 60 teams. So I know there's some Idaho schools going down to that. That's going to be fun. I think the big one this coming weekend, so Christmas, is the Justin Wolf Invitational. There's not a lot going on during the Christmas break, but that's Glens Ferry, and it looks like they've got a handful of teams coming there. In fact, quite a few teams signed up. There's 20-something teams, all sizes of schools. So that could be interesting over the break to follow that. But yeah, the weekend after that is, Wrestler's Paradise, and there's so much to talk about there. But those are kind of the couple this week that I'm looking forward to. Yeah,
and I think Sierra Nevada is at the same place, the Reno Event Center. So
yeah,
and is that this weekend? This coming weekend?
That's this coming weekend, the 27th and 28th.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
I'll be there the 28th.
All right, check it out. I'm not sure what Idaho schools are going. I know traditionally there's been 3 or 4. I know Skyline's got one of their kids at Aiden Takita is going down there. It's a competitive tournament, so they're not taking a full lineup. But there's a couple other Idaho schools going down there. So check it out.
If I'm getting killed at blackjack, I'll head on over. Head over for a minute. Cool.
They'll see you there.
Looking at the list, Brian. Looks like Caldwell's going to be there. I'm going through the list right now. Caldwell. Skyline High School of Idaho Falls, right? Your area.
Yep.
And that's in the boys. In the girls, I'm just going through the list real quick. I don't see too many girls. No, that's about it. Not as many Idaho teams this year.
Usually there's more because I think the state rules allow them only to count it as a day or something if it's a multi-day event during the holidays. Yeah. So usually there's a few more. And there's another, not a lot of tournaments this weekend, but the St. Mary's has the tournament this weekend too, I believe.
That's where we're going. So up north, Lakeland is doing Lakeland duels for the boys. And I believe Binico is coming up to that. So that's pretty exciting. They have a strong 5A school come up for the boys. And then St. Mary's is doing the Chad Ross Invitational boy and girl tournament. So our girls and growing, they're going to that, along with some other Northern girls teams will be there and a few Montana teams as well. So we're looking forward to that tournament. And then we're not talking about Raleigh. And then after Raleigh, we'll have the River City duels. And for the first time ever, River City Duels is offering girls duels as well.
Awesome.
So I believe there is 6 committed girls duel teams. So we are very happy about that. That's going to be pretty awesome to see.
Since you went back to girls, I'm going to go back to girls. Middleton girls 4th at Best of the West in Pasco. Fowler twins are tough. Katie and Kylie. Katie got first in 145. Kylie got second in 135, as well as Abby Diaz second in 120, and Torres at 100 got second. And I made those notes, so I'm glad I could go back and actually use the information.
Oh.
So that's good.
I did too. Same notes.
Mine are a lot the same as yours. So yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, and they are. I mean, Middleton had a great showing down there.
Yeah.
Middleton and Caldwell boys went, only Middleton girls went, I believe, to that. And they wrestled in a lot of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches for sure that day.
And that's a great tournament. I remember going to that tournament, in like 2016, 17, and there was maybe a handful of girls at that tournament. So the fact that they now have full girls divisions is great. Proves that it's growing.
Now, is River City Duels, is that the same date as Jaybird this year?
I believe so.
It's going to be.
Same weekend.
And I think down here we've got probably Madison Invitational. That weekend is the big one. That's the second weekend of January.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and a couple other tournaments. I mean, the same way, the first weekend of January, you've got the Bear Lakes tournament, the Trade McPherson. I don't know what they've got signed up, girls or boys, but that's one I've never been to. We're usually at Raleigh, but I think a lot of the East Idaho schools over in that area, the Bear Lake area.
I had Aberdeen, Bear Lake, Malad, Century, Soda, Westside, Oakley, Firth, and a handful of Utah teams coming up with that one.
Okay. So you get a good mix there too. That one would be worth checking out if you're in that part of the state, not headed over to Raleigh that day.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Any other tournaments sticking out?
That's
okay.
This is a slow weekend. Obviously, there's only the 2 or 3 tournaments, and then, like I said, Rollie Lane. That's the big weekend.
Big weekend.
I did get this. How about the Fruitland Minico duel? Any thoughts on that? How great's that going to be? Now, is that at Minico or at Fruitland? Do you
That's
know?
a good question. I don't know. I don't know that. Let's see.
I'm sure.
But yeah, that's going to be huge.
I don't think it matters. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, top 3A, top 4A, top 5A matchup. It's going to be really interesting to see who wins that. I mean, Fruitland looked really good at Reno TOC.
They look tough, my friend. They're tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun to see those interdivisional matchups. Meridian Fruitland, Minico Fruitland, top teams. So that's going to be one to watch. I wonder where that is. That might be worth driving over to if it's in Minico. I can't make Fruitland. That's too big a drive to watch a duel, but
it's only an extra 2.5 hours from Rupert. Come on,
make it a day trip, right?
Yeah, it's in Fruitland. Sorry,
Fruitland. Okay.
Eric says it's in Fruitland, and everybody's saying it's in Fruitland. So
yeah, that's going to be a fun matchup for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Rollie Lane, guys. Rollie Lane. I was involved in that from the early days, early. Todd Cady, he was at Skyview at the time. Stewie Vickers involved way back when. I think he actually had hair, and it wasn't gray way back then. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it's grown leaps and bounds to a point where I'm sure even Coach Cady is amazed at how big it is and how important Rollie Lane really is. So let's talk some Rollie Lane, guys. We actually had a comment. Is Rollie Lane going to have as many teams or more than last year? I don't know, but I'm going to say more just because
98 schools are listed.
Yeah.
And there's still time, right?
Yeah, there's still time.
There's still time.
So, and if it's 98, that's obviously bigger than last year. I don't know what it ended up last year. I think we were in the high 70s, if I remember, but I'd have to
go more girls teams now.
Yeah, I didn't see how many girls. What do we have listed? Possible, 81 registered. Obviously, that's not going to be the case, but man, if you had 81 teams, that's if you have 64 plus brackets for the females, that's a good size bracket for sure. That'll be fun.
Yeah. We've reached capacity. We're getting close in the tournament.
Yeah. Like we talked state, much bigger Rollie Lane. You're going to have to split the girls and boys divisions or do something or add an extra day. Who knows? But because they start that early Friday morning already, that's a full 2 day, not the day and a half that some are. So, if you really have 61 girls teams and close to 100 boys teams, and they're just looking through the teams that are signed up to come, girls team. I mean, the Oregon teams that are coming over, a couple Nevada schools. That's just going to be a fun tournament to watch on the girls' side. And the boys' side, same thing. You always have those Washington, Oregon, some Nevada. There's some Utah schools coming down.
California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm looking at those California teams. They're not high power teams, but I suspect like Central Catholic has a few studs on their team. They're going to have a few individuals on there that are pretty talented. San Clemente, Capistrano, Bonita Vista. So there'll be a few individuals there that'll be tough. But I don't see them challenging for a top 10 team.
Yeah.
All I can think of is a salmon of Capistrano. Dumb and Dumber. Anyway.
Yeah.
San Clemente is going to be there as well. And then but I think on their Facebook page where I was up, 92 plus teams, 6 states. And this is the 25th year for Rollie Lane.
Yeah, it's grown to be one of the big ones, and it's fun every year for sure.
Nope.
Yeah,
good Idaho. Listen, Idaho teams look tough. You said Post Falls, their number one guys are going to the Clash, right?
Yeah, that's too bad. It would be fun to see because right now they're probably the top dog in 6A. I mean, Meridian's right up there for sure, but Post Falls has those top guys that if they were there, it'd be fun to see if they could win it.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving everyone else a chance, Post Falls. Appreciate that. Appreciate it.
Now, I think Fruitland will be right there in the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your call is Fruitland is the all divisions champion right now, huh?
That's what I heard.
You're saying Fruitland is the all divisions champion right now.
I don't know. They look tough.
They do.
Yeah, they look tough. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, you could be right. You could be.
Now,
right.
Brian, you're going to be at Rollie Lane, right?
Yeah, I'll be at Raleigh.
Okay.
Yeah,
going.
I'm excited. And the girls' side, again, that's going to be a wide open tournament.
Wide open.
I don't even know who the pick's going to be in the top 10. I mean, it's that crazy. Like, you got to assume those schools that we've talked about, but it could be the case that no school has 2 people in the finals. I mean, it could be that spread out. So
I think LeGrand's pretty good in the girls, right? I think they won that tournament where a few Idaho teams went.
Yeah, LeGrand is going to be tough. I'm interested to see some of the Utah schools. They've got some solid stuff. If you go by the numbers, it looks like Joab has 12 already. I never say that right either. I don't know if it's Joab, but it's they've got had a dominant boys team for years. So to see them bring a full girls team, that's going to be really interesting to see what they do on the girls side.
It'll just be interesting to see how the numbers are when the teams get there.
Right. See how many they're all bringing.
So Coach Al, you're saying Fruitland on the boys side. Coach Val, what do you say on the girls side for Rollie Lane? Fair is fair, really.
No, we're doing the show a day early. It's a whole day of not processing.
Just pick one. It's not like we'll bring it up again.
Oh, we will. You will bring it up again.
Al said.
Yeah.
Can I pass to Brian? Can I just?
That's up to him.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to.
It's so wide open for the girls, and
it is.
I mean, because
As of right now, what do you think? If Rollie Lane happened tomorrow,
I'm going to go with Eagle. I'm going to say Eagle. Eagle is in the top 5.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I've got to say Idaho-wise, Eagle as well. I mean, just to see what they did at TOC. I mean, you've got 3 placers from Eagle. They're going to probably have 3, possibly more at Raleigh. So that's kind of what I'd go to. I mean, tournament-wise. But again, there's some of these schools that have 8 solid girls that might not be finalists or top 4, but they're going to win enough matches to rack up the points.
They're going to score points.
That's what makes it hard. And I just don't know enough about these girls, the out-of-state teams that I was looking at from Washington and Oregon to see who, what girls teams are going to compete.
Okay, well, Brian, what about the boys?
Boys. I think from Idaho, I think Minico, just because you're going to have Preston Sonner Craney, should be pushing for the finals. I think Fruitland or Minico, but I'll say Minico's got a shot of being the top boys team there as well without Post Falls being there. I think they're pretty solid. Fred's exactly right with that comment. Middleton has enough. They did well this weekend and they've got enough. It just takes, 3-4 placers and you're right up there. So
Meridian too. They're going to be in the mix. Meridian will be in the mix.
Yeah.
They'll be right there.
So Box Elder, that's where Century Varsity is going down in Utah.
All right. We used to go to that tournament every year. We're not clear back when I was in high school. That was a big tournament that Sugar Salem went down to and competed at. So that'll be fun to watch them.
All right. Well, is that all we've got for Rollie Lane? Any questions coming up? We're tapped out on questions and comments coming in. So what do you think, guys?
I think this is a wrap.
That's a wrap.
I mean, there's so many things we can look forward to. Like, one thing I'm excited for at Rollie Lane is there are so many different schools there that finally, if the brackets play out right, we're going to see some of these. You look at our rankings, and you're going to see some of these number ones against number ones from the different divisions there, and that's really what I love about Rollie Lane. It's probably the best tournament in Idaho to see some of the different size schools come together, and we get those dream matchups that we don't get at the state tournament either. We're going to have the number 3A against the number 4A and the number 5 against. I mean, a lot of those individual matches up. You could spend the whole show just talking about this potential matchup and this potential matchup. And so, without seeing the brackets and knowing, who wins and loses where, which ones we're going to get, it's impossible. But that's what I think is the most fun about Rollie Lane. And, I hate to even have to be coaching because I just want to sit back and watch all these matches that are going on. And
well, to your point, Brian, you've got Clearwater Valley from up in Cooskie.
Yeah,
it's a spot in the road, right? The Rams, they're tiny. Coming up, meanwhile, you've got all the Boras and the Rigby's and the 6As and all the way down. Marsing's going to be there. All the different demographics. It's a very very colored quilt is Rollie Lane, and seeing all, like you said, all these teams coming together. The kids from the smaller schools get a chance to shine against the kids from the bigger schools, and I think it's great.
It's a good equalizer.
Yeah.
Very good equalizer.
And that's we've talked about it. Is it Fruitland, Meridian, or Minico? I mean, 4A, 5A, or 6A? Who's going to place top? And literally this year, as much as any other year, that's wide open. I mean, some years you can say the 6A team, Meridian, they just had a dream lineup last year. Post Falls was solid, but you knew they were going to be the top Idaho school at the tournament. But this year, Al's right. It could be Fruitland, it could be Minico, or it could be Meridian. And there could be somebody else. I mean, there's that much diversity, but it's going to be fun to see.
What was that team from that came a few years ago? The Montana team.
Yeah,
they won it.
Yeah, not have.
If Brandon was here, he would know.
He would know. And Coach Booth probably knows. I think he's got a couple wrestlers from that team wrestling up there. And I can't even.
Hammered.
Yeah, they had a really good team. They're through the 50 up. They had 3 or 4 guys in the finals. And I can't think who it is either.
Kettle Falls.
Flathead. There you go. Cody nailed it. So it was Flathead.
That was my next.
Yes. I kept thinking Engine or something like Flathead. Okay.
Yep. They had a stacked team a few years back for sure.
Got to give Derek credit. He knew it too.
I knew he would.
So here's a question, guys. With Rollie growing as big as it is, should they place top 8 instead of top 6? Good question, John.
Yeah.
You stump the experts. Yes.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, I agree. Why not? And
Good discussion.
That also changes the team dynamics.
You score an extra 10 points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if you get a pen.
It's a great suggestion. I hope they're watching.
Yeah.
Probably too late to do it this year, but maybe next year, right?
Yeah.
And here's maybe the question that has been asked the most over the last couple of years we've been doing this. Will we ever see a Superstate tournament in Idaho?
It's too early in the season to have this discussion.
Is it? That's kind of what Rollie Lane is. It's the pre-state Superstate, right? Is that really what Rollie Lane is?
Yeah, it's as close as we're going to get. And I'm afraid it's as close as we're going to get for, it's been a dream for 20 years, and in different
what has been the biggest obstacle to seeing it happen, Brian?
I would say it's probably the schools themselves. I mean, I think everybody wants to see it, but then on the other hand, everyone wants to keep the same divisions. And so then it becomes logistics. And no one's been willing to really, I think USA Idaho tried kind of to have a tournament the week after, kind of an all-star duel. And that's kind of as close as we've gotten. That was a lot of fun. And you saw some of the matchups, but I think it's probably getting IHSAA on board.
So I'll tell you, I did an analysis on California. It has 900 high schools, roughly, one division. What's going to happen in Idaho if we went to one division, the top 5 power schools will dominate over 40 to 50% of the medals. That'll happen. You're going to see a big drop off. It'll be very difficult. That's what happened in California. Only five or six schools dominate the state. It's very difficult to get there. Where were you when you wrestled? Was it 3 divisions, Brian? Was it A1, A2, and A3?
There was an A4 as well still.
Oh, there was? Okay.
Yeah.
Which back then, A4 didn't mean 4A.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was reversed, huh?
Yeah, A3 was what last year's 2A, because that was when I competed in state basketball and stuff. It was A3. Yeah. But going back to your comment about, I don't remember the exact wording in the rules and regs, but the IHSA is fundamentally opposes any kind of all-star stuff, right? That's just in the wording, but they do sanction those, like all-star basketball games and whatnot. But so they wouldn't have anything to do with an all-star wrestling tournament. It'd be a matter of getting it put together, ran, and the top 1 through however many invited to the Superstate, get brackets done. And this is something I talked to Brandon about it. It probably was too early in the season to mention it. I'm willing to put Idaho sports resources into this at this point. So if Idaho Sports and USA Wrestling want to get into it, I want to do it. And so, I mean, this is a topic or a conversation for off air, but I want to have that conversation with whoever wants to help me and Idaho Sports do it. I would love to see it.
It'd be a great event because the matches in the first round are going to be tough. It's going to be power match after power match after power match where there are OTs in the first round of competition. Yeah. So that's what you'll see. You'll see be like Rollie in the quarters, right? From the quarters on.
Right. Yeah.
Really tight matches go either way in some respects.
Yeah. Zach's saying he thinks that Rollie is in fact placing the top 10 based on the last flyer he got, he says.
That would be interesting. And I'm assuming some of the board of director from USA Wrestling, and now that USA Wrestling and Idaho have merged this year, I mean, that's big news that we really don't talk about in the high school season. The fact the fact that they're merged again, the USA Idaho board of wrestlers, I'm sure at least one, if not more of them are watching the show tonight. That's good to hear Idaho Sports is willing to do that, because I think it's a real possibility, because I think you could make some money there. And, it would be just coming up with the format. Is it 4 from each division and you have a 16-man bracket? I mean, those are the fun discussions to have, but I say let's keep the pressure on, and I'll get with the people I know in USA Idaho, and let's make this a reality, because that would
it be a week after state, Brian?
No, because that's boys, because it goes girls basketball, wrestling, boys basketball in the state of Idaho, those 3 consecutive, and you just can't do it. And the week after state basketball, boys is the statewide boys all-star game up at NIC, which great. I can send people different places. We can do it that weekend. But what if you go any later, and this is speaking on experience from those all-star games we do with NIC, if you do it later, you run into spring sports practices, right? Well, I have practice, I have meets. Sometimes we run into proms and spring break. So the earlier we have it after that winter sports season's done, the better. You don't want to wait till summer either, right? Because no one's in wrestling shape in the middle of July. So and it probably won't happen this year, obviously, but yeah, Brian,
3-pound allowance,
5 people, and let's get together and talk about it.
Yeah, Brian, 3-pound allowance.
Yeah, it's going to have to be.
Yeah, you know how it is after state.
Yeah.
And we will definitely have a girls bracket.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, you need somebody to advocate and pound pavement, write letters, get resources for you, I can do that.
All right. Wow. I'm going to post this one just to shame him. Tony says Idaho sucks. Well, Tony, if I could kick you off this, I would. Yeah. Says do it 3 weeks after state, 4-pound allowance, says John.
There you go. Yeah, and then you got to look at the schedule, because then you run into, it's possible, but you have folk style
nationals.
Yeah, they're coming up, probably the second weekend of March. So it's a tight window there.
So but really having it that weekend after Boise State's not impossible.
Yeah.
It's just going to be held, really the location is the big one, right?
Right, because every gym in the state's being used, or gym large enough to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess we just have to look at who won, the main schools, and then see where the majority would gravitate towards. Eastern Idaho, Moscow, Treasure Valley, whatever, and so it makes it easiest for the whole to get there. So a lot of logistics involved, but it's doable.
Yeah, you might be able to do that. Yeah, Holt Arena, that was the dream, I guess, 10 years ago, was hold it at Holt Arena, and that's where they started holding that all-star duel that's now become Idaho All-Stars against Utah All-Stars, which is fun, but they moved that to the hockey rink in Logan. So I think, Holt Arena might be available some of those early weekends. We could look at there and definitely do it.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's do it.
Yeah,
let's just do it. Let's just plan it and then figure it out, and then figure out how to do it.
We got Idaho Sports behind it. We can just set it up and go. We know how to run tournaments.
Well, it'll be fun. Well, hopefully this sets the rumor mill ablaze now. There's gonna be all sorts of, the telephone game is going to make this a pretty interesting rumor. Yeah. Yeah. Brandon said we're doing it. I don't know what. All right, guys, we've spent our hour, and it's been a lot of fun, a lot of good information. I appreciate, again, all of you being here on Christmas Eve. So Merry Christmas to all of you guys. Hope you have a good Christmas.
All right.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas all.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the last Mat Chat Prepcast of 2024. We'll be back January 7th with an extended edition. It's going to have to be extended because it's going to take a while to go over everything that's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. Again, updated rankings are going to be released this week on Idaho Sports on Wednesday. So I said, open your presents, and then open up the updated rankings. And then we're going to take a break as well and release the next rankings on January 8th. So there'll be a bit of a break for those. So for Santa Claus, Coach Al Fontes, for Brian Zollinger and Val Johansson, everyone behind the scenes here at IdahoSports.com, I'm merely Paul Kingsbury. Have a Merry Christmas and a happy and above all safe New Year's. See you next year, diehards.